In the forgotten corner of a crumbling village, where fog lingered like a second skin and crows outnumbered people, lived a girl named Amira. She was no one important. At least, that's what the village told her each day, with their silence, with their stares, with the way they passed by her as if she were air. Or maybe smoke. Amira was 13, small for her age, with tangled hair and eyes that always seemed to be looking at something no one else could see. She wasn't always invisible. Once she had a mother, a quiet, beautiful woman who whispered lullabies in languages the wind seemed to understand. But her mother had died on a winter night when the stars refused to shine. Since then, Amira lived alone in a crooked house by the edge of the woods, where the shadows moved strangely and the birds didn't sing. It started one evening as the sun dipped beneath the trees, casting long shadows across the wooden floor of her room. Amira was sweeping as she always did, humming a tune she barely remembered learning. The broom slipped from her hand and landed on the floor with a thud. "That's not how your mother used to do it," said a voice. She froze. The room was empty, but the shadow of the broom stretched out oddly against the wall, twisting slightly, like it was breathing. Amira backed away, her heart hammering. "Don't be afraid," the shadow said again, this time gentler. "We remember her. We remember everything." From that moment, Amira discovered her strange gift. She could speak to shadows. Not just hear them, but understand them. Shadows, she learned, were the oldest record keepers in the world. They saw what light forgot. They lived in corners, behind closed doors, beneath beds, and inside secrets. It wasn't long before her gift became a curse. A week later, news spread through the village. Lord Halrik, the nobleman who ruled their land, had been found dead in his manor. The village whispered of a sickness, or poison, or perhaps something more sinister. No one knew, but Amira did. The shadow in Halrik's study had seen everything. She ventured into the manor under the guise of sweeping the floors, a service the villagers allowed her to do in exchange for leftover bread. But this time, she came not with a broom, but with a question. The study was still. Dust hung like fog in the air. She stepped inside, her footsteps echoing too loudly. Then, the shadow on the far wall stirred. "You've come," it whispered. "I need to know," Amira said. "What happened here?" The shadow shivered and stretched, its edges sharp against the wooden panels. He was betrayed by one who served him tea, the one with trembling hands and too many keys. Amira's mind flashed to the steward, Master Brome, the man who always carried a heavy ring of keys and trembled slightly when speaking to nobility. But why, she asked. He feared the letter, the one Lord Halrik planned to send. It spoke of forgiveness and freedom. Freedom. Amira's chest tightened. The villagers had always lived under Halrik's taxes, bound by debt. But what if he had meant to free them? And someone silenced him before he could? No one would believe her, of course. She was just a strange orphan girl who talked to shadows. Still, she couldn't remain silent. That night, Amira crept into the village square, where a message board stood beneath the flickering lantern. She pinned a letter, one she wrote with shaking hands, signed only with the words, "Truth never sleeps in the dark." In it, she described the events the shadow had shared. She told them where to find the teacup, the broken window, the draft of the letter still hidden in Halrik's desk. They laughed at first, but curiosity, like fire, spreads fast. By morning, the manor was full of whispers, and when Master Brome fled into the woods, dropping his ring of keys along the way, the laughter stopped. They never found him, but they found the letter. And Amira? She became something else in the eyes of the villagers. Not just the strange girl in the crooked house, but the girl who knew things. The girl who saw what others missed. The girl who listened when no one else did. Still, she never told anyone the truth. That she didn't solve the mystery. The shadows did. Now, every evening, as the sun slips behind the woods and the darkness stretches out across the floor of her room, Amira kneels and listens. Because shadows never lie. They only wait for someone brave enough to hear them. And Amira was no longer afraid.